is that his actual name? Like, is that his birth name? I did
On his passport.
check. It just sounded so good. Recording. Welcome back to Casuals Corner, and today we're coming to you with Sean O'Malley v Thomas Almeida. Now, personally, I'm excited for this fight. Frank, talk me through it.
I am very excited for this fight. So, obviously, the sugar show returns, if you will. And on paper, right, you could argue that the UFC are giving him a guy that's lost 4 out of his last 5 on paper. But if you'll remember correctly, Thomas Almeida at one point was like the next hot prospect. He was at 21-0. He was a guy that was like, he's going to be a future champ, and he's had a bit of a fall from grace, if you will. But I put all of that aside, right? He's got a big moment here. It's a good fight, maybe on paper for O'Malley, but I think it will be a competitive fight, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Sugar Show return uninjured. What are you thinking?
You touched upon a couple of things that I was exactly thinking. Thomas Almeida sort of came into the UFC, like you said, is a very, very hot prospect, but he's currently sitting at 22-4, which when you look at it like that, is actually still a very impressive record. Yeah. But when you actually look at it as a whole, it tells a very different story because he's 5-4 in the UFC at the moment. He's coming off a 3-fight losing streak. And like you said, I can't help but call him Sugar Sean. Like, it's just, it doesn't roll off the tongue as like Sean.
That's how you know it's a good nickname, when you can't call him anything but that.
I honestly, the other day I was sitting there, I was thinking, is that his actual name? Like, is that his birth name? I did
on his passport.
Check. It just sounded so good. But as we were saying, yes, Sean O'Malley is a very, very exciting fighter. He's 12-1, and we obviously will get into that one in a second. But yeah, like you said, with Almeida, I think with Sugar Sean, I'm going to call him that every single time, he is one of those guys that has a lot of eyeballs on him, and let's sort of exclude, we'll touch upon the last fight in a second, but before that last fight, he really was the up-and-comer, and he's destructive. He's very, very destructive. He's 12-1, and 8 of those are KOs, and we only have to look at his last knockout to see he's got power in his hand. So I think it's a good fight for Almeida because there'll be a lot of eyes on him, not only just because of the card that it is, there'll be a lot of eyes, but the fact that it is Sugar Sean O'Malley as well. There's a lot of people that sort of gravitate towards him. So I think it's a perfect opportunity to Almeida to come to O'Malley on the back of the loss and to sort of show us what he's got, really.
Yeah, if you're the UFC, realistically, you're going to want to push this guy, give him somewhat favourable matchups on paper. I do feel sorry for him, though, because he's had a bit of a shit run. He's had that thing with USADA. If you'll remember, he was meant to be on the McGregor-Khabib card. So, like, again, another big card for him to sort of steal the show a little bit, you know. So the UFC are definitely pushing him. But he had this interview with Ariel, and it rubbed me up the wrong way, if I'm being frank. He was talking about his loss, if you'll pardon the pun. He was talking about his loss to Cheeto, and it was just, I get sometimes he's kind of joking, oh yeah, I'm not undefeated, but I feel like he's just not accepting the fact that he lost. He was sort of saying that it was a fluke, that it's not really a loss because he didn't mean it, which I just don't believe. Like, he kicked your leg to make it go like that. Do you know what I mean? You didn't just blow your knee out. He kicked it, so therefore he won the fight.
It's one of them things. Of course he meant that. Of course he meant that. That's why those calf kicks are so effective, because it has that potential to do that nerve damage. That's why people kick the calves. So yes, he did mean to do that. But it's an interesting one, and I feel like I've been on a roller coaster journey with him because I do really like him. And after the fight, I was a bit annoyed just because it was just the way Cheeto was conducting himself after the win. That was the only thing that sort of frustrated me. I don't know if you remember, he came out in the press conferences and was very confident and just said, he was just very over the top and completely disregarded him and almost made it sound like it was, the thing that sort of rubbed me up the wrong way is he made it sound like such an amazing dominant performance that he just, I don't know, it just frustrated me. It was one of them things. But then obviously we've got the other side of it, which I probably like even less is that, especially in the UFC, because it's one of them things that losing is there's no shame in losing in the UFC. There really is no shame.
We're not boxing.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
not at all. Like, if you have a one on your record, there is no shame. Like, if you have another one on your record, there is no shame. So I don't like that really in the UFC anyway. There's never any you never lose rankings for me when you lose a fight. Well, not technically lose rankings, but as a person. But when you come out and make excuses and then start saying things like, oh, I'm undefeated and that was a fluke, like, I don't like that because ultimately when people throw spinning back fists or spinning elbows or whatnot, 9 times out of 10 they don't land. But when they land and it's a knockout, you shouldn't be then saying, oh, it's a fluke. No, he intended to do it. It's just the chances are slimmer. It's the same as the leg kick. He intended to do it. It's the chances of you seeing it are a lot slimmer. So yeah, I don't really respect that at all.
Yeah, it's frustrating because a lot of guys can lose well and their stock can go up. Like, McGregor's an extreme example, right? He's the biggest star in the sport, but whenever he loses, he never makes excuses. He'll accept a loss. He'll be like, yeah, I lost. I'm going to go away and change it. And people can respect that, you know. He talks a big game, but if he falls short, then that's it. That's the game we're all playing, right? We all know that. So I think he could have handled it a little bit better. But I do think this is a good fight and will be somewhat of a coming out party, more so than he already is out, if that makes sense. So overall, a good matchup. I have a good idea of how it's going to play out, but we don't know. But we do know one thing: foul show. Tell me what that is.
We're going to find out.
As always, people, thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts on this matchup below, thoughts on how Sean played it. Just get a conversation started. We love talking to you guys. Thank you for the ongoing support. If you like what we're doing, like, subscribe, make sure you're following us on all platforms, all that beautiful stuff. Other than that, have a lovely day and look forward to this card Saturday.